Hello everybody, Stephen here on a difficult People of Lisbon shooting because it is pouring raining now. We've been making a video with a very interesting woman called Ronia, Fraser, who, well, I'll just let the video speak for itself. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Move In, Moving Abroad Made Simple. If you want to move to Portugal or Lisbon, Move In will help you with everything from relocation, to taxes, to investment, to school enrollment. They'll be with you every step of the way. Here's Ronia and Rita. There you go. Here's the video.
My name is Ronia Fraser and I live in Lisbon.
Where are you from?
Originally Germany, Bavaria, so close to Nuremberg. I left like over 20 years ago, so I'm not sure if I still qualify as a German.
What was the town you were brought up in like?
Small. It's a place called Coburg. So our claim to fame is that Prince Albert came from there. They're very small, very traditional Bavarian countryside, really. So I was kind of like always a bit of the odd one out. That's why I left for London when I was like 21.
Where did you get your red hair?
I was born with it. No, I always wanted to have red hair since I was a little kid. So once I moved to London and could do whatever I wanted, I turned it red. Well, my red hair, I always wanted to have red hair since I was a child, and when I moved to London, I then turned it into this, and it's been almost 20 years, so I've been very consistent. And you can't miss me.
No, you can't.
Yeah, and you remember as well.
Is it good for marketing purposes?
Absolutely. And it's me, you know, like I couldn't imagine having any other color of hair, and it's just part of who I am. And yeah, I think for me it was more kind of like, you know, Ronia the Robber's Daughter, the children's book. And in my mind, she had red hair, I think.
What is your style other than your red hair? How would you describe your style?
I'm rock and roll coach Ronnie, right? That's who I am. So it's
You're
my
what?
rock and roll coach Ronnie.
What's that?
That's my name. That's my trademark. What's my style? Well, rock and roll, obviously. Red hair, tattoos, and yeah, once upon a time that really pushed like the stereotype buttons. Not so much anymore nowadays, but it's who I am, who I've been for a very long time, and I just made it my brand, which gives me a lot of freedom to just really be authentically me.
How many tattoos do you have?
I have no idea.
What was your most recent one?
My hands. No, comedy and tragedy. Yeah, I think it's a statement about everybody's life. It's just what life is, right? Mm-hmm. Comedy and tragedy. I'm gonna look like a post box.
When did you move to England?
2005, and I lived in London for 15 years, and then I moved to Hastings, which is on the southeast coast, because I was looking a bit for a more quiet kind of life, and I thought living by the seaside actually, you know, fools the creativity and the clean air and everything. So then I was in Hastings for 4 years before coming here.
How did England change you?
How did England change me? I think I just became me. Because England was less rigid than Germany, less judgmental, less stuck up, or well, London at least was. Back then, before I did what I do now, I was a chartered accountant. I still am a chartered accountant, but I worked in finance, so obviously as a chartered accountant, you're not supposed to look like this, right? And in Germany, I wouldn't have had the career opportunities that I had in England, I don't think.
Did it give you a sense of humor, England?
Of course not.
Are you a letter writer?
Sometimes, when I have something important to say, yes.
Have you ever written a love letter?
I have, actually. It backfired.
Oh, really? You sent it to the wrong address, did you?
Yeah, exactly. Should have sent it somewhere else.
Return to sender. This is your new place.
This is my new place, yes.
What brought you to Lisbon?
What brought me to Lisbon? As I told you, I lived in Hastings, which is a town on the southeast coast of England. I love it there as well, but what I didn't have there is that entrepreneurial spirit and tapping into that energy. And I run my own business, so self-motivating is okay for a while, but it gets very difficult after a while, and then especially with the pandemic, it was literally me and my cat. And just, I would have an idea and go like, hey Shadows, what do you think? So after the pandemic, I was just like, I need to go back into the city because I need the energy, I need the vibe. And then obviously Lisbon is fantastic for that because you have a lot of entrepreneurs, you have a lot of digital nomads, a lot of people that really do their thing and really make whatever it is they want happen. And that's how I decided to come here.
Is that the Hollywood sign?
That's the Hollywood sign.
What were you doing there?
I was living in LA for a while, and LA has a very significant role in my life. I was in LA from 2012 until 2016.
Whereabouts?
Hollywood Hills, Laurel Canyon. And I still have this love for Laurel Canyon, and there were some things that happened in LA which we may or may not be talking about later when we talk about my work. But when I left LA, it was not really my choice. It was, but it kind of was like a life-saving choice, if that makes sense. And then I've done a lot of healing work on myself, and now I can actually go back, and I still love LA. I love Hollywood the same way I did when I really wanted to live there. I don't know, when I was, I think like in my late 20s, I really wanted to live in LA. And it's one of those things, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. I really wanted to live in Hollywood. And I actually quit my job in London, and then I would go to LA and walk around Hollywood with my CV in my hand, knocking on doors.
What were your Hollywood ambitions?
My Hollywood ambitions, I just wanted to live there. Like, I never wanted to be famous or anything. I was an accountant. Like, when I was looking for a job, it was literally like head of finance, finance manager, that kind of thing. And I was kind of tired of London, and I felt at home in LA, so I thought, why not move to LA? But of course I had to make the visa happen.
Rock and roll coach Ronnie.
Rock and roll coach Ronnie.
Oh, so that's what you call yourself, the rock and roll coach.
That's what other people called me, so then I got a trademark on that, and now I'm rock and roll coach Ronnie. That's who I'm known as.
So you teach people how to play the guitar?
No.
So you teach people how to play the drums?
No.
Teach people how to get onto the X Factor and be lead singer in bands?
Absolutely not.
What do you do?
Well, what I do is trauma recovery coaching. Actually, I specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery. Rock and roll coach Ronnie is me, because I am obviously rock and roll. Trauma recovery coaching. And I'm one of the leading experts in the field of narcissistic abuse recovery.
Wow, this is a heavy topic for these videos.
I know.
Right? Our videos are usually kind of light and fluffy.
Yeah, well, we're light and fluffy, right? I mean...
Your hair is light and fluffy.
I'm light and fluffy. What are you talking about?
Okay.
This is my balcony. And
Well,
this is Lisbon, right? I mean, it's beautiful.
It's a little bit LA. It is.
A little bit, what, the hills?
Yeah.
The hills, yeah. It's beautiful. And when you go on your toes, you can actually see the water.
There you go.
This is where the magic happens. I do everything here, really. I work with my clients, I create content, I do interviews, podcasts, and it's where I'm creative and daydream. I'll show you the book. I have 2 versions, one for women, one for men. It's called Me, Myself and I, Your A to Z to Finding Back to You After Narcissistic Abuse. So it's kind of like a self-care buffet. I dish out what I have. It's very practical. Every day I teach you one life hack, practical tool, and if you like it, you put it in your toolbox. So I'm super excited about this actually. And because abuse doesn't only happen to women, it happens to men just as much. And there is very little content for men out there, so I created one specifically for men as well. Do you not recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror? Do you feel like there's nothing left of you? Did you used to be a strong person who could handle pretty much anything? You're not alone. One sentence I hear from every single client who walks through my door is, I don't know who I am anymore. If this resonates with you, then this is for you. It's just things that I use with my clients, that I use with myself. It's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's coaching, it's hypnosis, it's havening techniques. So it's a mix and match of very simple but highly effective things that we can do ourselves to make changes, to feel better, to create chemical reactions in our brain that actually, helps us to feel good. And all of those tools have been very successful in my own recovery. That's why I put them in my toolbox, and some of them are modified for the very particular purpose of what I do. And I use them myself, I use them with my clients. So I thought I'd put it all into a book, and everybody can just build their own toolbox and, transform their lives. The response has been incredible because there's nothing like it out there. And as you said already, it's a very heavy topic, but I'm all about actually offering a solution because there is something on the other side of all of that. And that's what abuse survivors very rarely get told at all. Well, you don't really end up in this line of work unless it has happened to you. So I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse myself, and a few years ago, in LA, it literally cost me everything and almost my life. And I went out on this mission to find something, because in my head it was like, hold on a second, something clearly happened to me, and I didn't know what it was at the time because narcissistic abuse wasn't a thing 7 years ago. But I knew that something had happened to me that turned me into this mess, because I hadn't always been that way. So of course there had to be something. If it goes one way, there has to be something that can, turn it the other way. So I basically went on this mission to find something to reverse the damage as effectively as it was caused. And once I did, I was post-traumatic stress symptom-free within 5 months. And then obviously, when you have like a really life transformational experience, you become very passionate about it. And that's when I then got trained in all those modalities that worked for me, and I specialized them, I tweaked them, I tailored them for the very particular purpose of narcissistic abuse recovery, because a lot of abuse survivors, they do suffer from post-traumatic stress, complex post-traumatic stress, and the common narrative is, well, bad luck, something happened, but you're just messed up now, and here is your medication, where in reality, actually, there a lot of things that you can do, and recovery from trauma can be so much easier and quicker than it's made out to be. And with my work, that's what I've basically done for myself, and now help other survivors with, and have been doing this for 7 years now.
So what if how does somebody know if they're going through what you're... How does somebody...
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good question, because usually people ask, so how do I identify a narcissist? I personally don't care about narcissists at all. It's not an energy I engage in. So your question is actually a really great question. Like, how do I know that I'm experiencing that? because it's always easy to find excuses for other people's behavior. What you can't find an excuse for is what's actually happening for you. And there are some really clear indications. Like, first of all, if something feels wrong, it's because it is. People that experience narcissistic abuse are usually highly intuitive, they're empath. It's just that for the sake of love, they don't trust their instincts, or they override their instincts. But there are very clear indications, like, for example, always walking on eggshells. You know, in a normal, healthy relationship, and whether that's family or romantic or in the workplace, it really doesn't matter. Under normal circumstances, with, you know, healthy human relationships, you don't walk on eggshells. You're not constantly anxious. You don't deal with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and which you would do with a narcissist. So walking on eggshells is one thing. I don't recognize myself in the mirror. That's something that every abuse survivor will say, because what happens is you literally lose everything that you are. It's being taken away from you. That's an indication. If you look in the mirror and there's literally a stranger looking back, or you don't see anything at all. Another very common indication is that something is very wrong, but you don't have the language to actually explain what it is, because you don't know yet. But the words that an abuse survivor, narcissistic abuse survivor, will use is something along the lines of, I don't know what's wrong with me, I feel like an addict, or he or she is my heroine, or something along those lines. I remember I used those words when I, you know, didn't know what I was dealing with. And the reality is that it doesn't only feel like that, it actually is a chemical dependency. Which is a rather complex topic in itself. But there are certain things, like those examples, where it's a real indication that something isn't right here. And I haven't met a single abuse survivor who didn't know that something was off right from the get-go. But because we can't put our finger on it, you know, we then tend to override it. So if something feels wrong, I think everybody can trust that intuition, because our intuition is meant to keep us safe.
Okay, say that all over again. I just want to get shots of your hands moving around.
Okay,
just talk randomly. I just want to get your hands just
randomly. Well, I hope it's not too heavy. I'm trying to make it quite light and focusing on the positive. And yeah, well, it's what I do, you know, and I'm very passionate about it. And I think it's important to actually talk about that there is a way out of it, rather than just, you know, being written off as a crazy person.
So are you over your demons?
I've done a whole lot of healing work, for sure. I've literally rewired my whole brain, and I think that's the gift that comes out of a situation like that, because it forces you to look at yourself and to look at the things that get you into trouble in the first place, the things that don't work for you. And now, like, just the fact that I'm back in love with LA, that I can go back and I feel safe, I think that speaks for itself. I actually bumped into my ex when I was in Hollywood earlier this year, and I had absolutely no physical, emotional response whatsoever. So if I hadn't done my healing work, there's no way I could hold the space for other people and help them go through their healing the way that I do. So do I get triggered sometimes? Of course, I'm a human being, and other people push our buttons, right? But in general, I would say yes.
So was there something about LA, or was it the specific person?
I mean, LA is narcissist central, right? And but in general, it's that person, and you find them anywhere. And I realized it wasn't the first one; it was just the worst one. And you find narcissists in any kind of environment, in any kind of nationality, any gender, any age. And it can happen to anybody. So it's really all inclusive, non-discriminating at all. So.
But in LA, they're glamorous narcissists.
Yes, like actually. Like actually LA is one of those places, or America I think in general, where people proudly call themselves narcissists, whereas over here, if you are aware that you are one, you kind of like really attempt to fly under the radar, whereas in LA in particular, you know, it's the epitome of narcissism, and also obviously people on the receiving end, and that's why I still spend a lot of time in LA, because obviously there's a lot of work for me to do there.
So there's but creative people. Creative people. I'm creative. You're creative. Rita's creative. Creative people aren't they classic narcissists?
How?
Aren't creative people narcissistic?
How? What's the connection?
I don't know. You're the expert. Am I wrong? Is it wrong? Could be wrong.
I don't see how there's a connection.
Well, here's a better question then. The better question is, well, what is a narcissist? Better start off at the beginning here.
Well, what is a narcissist? Like, we can talk 5 hours about that.
Okay, well, give me 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The narcissists that we experience actually very unlikely to be what we think a narcissist is. So yes, they might be full of themselves, but they might not be. They're actually vulnerable narcissists that use their sob story to, you know, draw people in, because empathic people, they want to help, they want to save other people with the love they have to give. So a narcissist in general is very self-centered. However, in whatever way that presents itself, it's all about them, and they will obviously make other people feel worse so they can feel better. So they really feed off other people's energies, they feed off other people's misery, because obviously there is something going on for themselves, which they would need to heal, but to do healing you need self-awareness, and that's something that narcissists just don't have. They don't process emotions the same way, they don't have the ability to reflect on their own behavior, and it's just a differently wired human being.
There's a lot of narcissists these days, though, isn't there?
I think they've always been there. It's just now we talk about it, you know, like even when I started my work, it didn't exist. I was the first person in the UK. I was the first narcissistic abuse recovery coach. I was the one who came up with that term because it didn't exist. And the perpetrator is usually called the narc. And narcissistic abuse recovery coaching, the acronym is NARC. So it's a subliminal reframe from something bad to something good, right? And nobody would talk about it, and now it has blown up on social media, but even the media itself still shies away from that topic. But then if you think about how the media is run, you know, there are a lot of narcissists there as well, and yeah, I forgot the question. On the couch. Shadows, are you working?
What's your cat called?
Shadows.
Why?
M. Shadows, my favorite singer. My American cat with a German passport, UK residency, now living in Lisbon. Mm-hmm. Just for animals in Lisbon, you know.
What are you currently reading?
What am I currently reading? When Women Were Dragons. I like the cover. So I'm not that far in, so I don't know quite yet what it's about. And that one kind of jumped at me.
What are your current bad habits?
My current bad habits? Procrastinating. Yeah.
What
like
do you
Netflix, phone, those kind of things.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
Right now, 6:30. Yeah, but I would like to take that back to like 5 o'clock, because I know that that's when my energy is the best. And it was something a Chinese doctor actually told me when I was going through my recovery. She told me about the different energies in the day. And I was a night owl. I thought I just couldn't get up early. I was always the one, you know, closing out the bar and stuff. And she was the one that told me to change my schedule. So then I became an early bird.
What do you have for breakfast?
Chia pudding that I make myself.
What time do you go to bed?
9:30.
That's very early.
Well, I'm rock and roll like that, right?
If you look here and look through the window.
What do you do for fun?
I can't say work. What do I do for fun? I like going to concerts and meeting friends, exploring Lisbon. There are a lot of amazing places to drink and eat and, you know, meet new people. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to exploring more actually. A little Christmas elf.
Are you a Christmas person?
Yes, like not Christmassy as such, but it's for me it means family. So I'm looking forward to spending time with my parents. It's, you know, when you can just be a child and my mom takes care of everything, so it's beautiful.
Ronia, it's raining.
It is. Welcome to Lisbon.
How does the rain make you feel?
I mean, I lived in the UK for long enough, right? So I'm okay with it. It sometimes makes me quite productive actually, because when the sun is out, I always think I need to go out and be social and everything. When it rains, you know, I can sit in the office and work, but then obviously if it's for too long, it's a bit of a downer.
So what's your New Year's resolution?
Taking care of myself actually, because in my line of work I have to make sure that I'm okay so I can do the work that I do. So and I've neglected it a little bit this year, so next year definitely self-care and yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing really.
Okay, Ronia, this rain is causing me trauma.
Yes,
This is
I
causing
understand.
trauma for a filmmaker.
Yes. Also for
Red
my
hair.
hair. I just walked up a hill. Oh, you want me to give you some emotional wisdom?
No, that's okay. We don't need anything now. I've given up. We got it. Ronia, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Really nice meeting you.
What have you learned about yourself from the People of Lisbon experience? It's important to learn, Ronia.
No, I know that I'm not very good with spontaneous questions, I guess. So that's like German out of her comfort zone, you know. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Wait, what should...
You can walk into the distance.
Oh, I can walk into
Yeah.
the distance.
This is
so
officially goodbye.
Wait. Okay, wait. There's a car. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ronia. We'll be in touch.
Oh, more?
You can go. We're done.